Oh, welcome back to Season 2 of Spring Showcase. It's an exciting time of the year. I'm Michael Washington. He's Daniel Villalpando as we gear up for another season of Southern, below the border, LFA action. First and foremost, Daniel, it's great to be back, my man. I'm glad to have you back with me again for another season.
Glad to be back, man. I'm absolutely enjoying it. Love it. Love the fact that we still get football year round. A little later in the season for the LFA, but it's here nonetheless. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to mention that real quick. I mean, first and foremost, before we start this off with anything else, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Watch us all year long, Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as well as we discuss the LFA season as it comes out to him as well. But first and foremost, CFL draft's on right now. The CFL season starts next month. The ELF season starts next month over in Europe. That's a huge thing. I'll be doing 2 shows for that as well. It's my busy time of year for me. But first and foremost, you mentioned something in your little introduction there. The LFA season starting later. I know there were some hiccups. There were some things that were going on, behind the scenes. It seems like it's a pretty common theme for the LFA every year. They were able to pull together the season. We lost 2 teams and brought in expansion. Am I correct, or is it a rebrand? I'm not sure off the top of my head what the Archangels is, but I know the is it Osos?
Yeah, the Osos, the Bears.
Osos?
Yeah,
the Bears. Yeah, they are the rebranding of the Monterey Fundadores, and they have a bunch of NFL ownership. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but the Archangels are they a rebrand or are they an expansion team?
Yeah, rebrand from everything that
a brand new team, I should say.
Yeah, pretty much a rebrand. I know the big part is that they wanted to give the expansion feel. A lot of the ownership is going to be the same. A lot of the stuff that's coming, so it's kind of cool. I love the name. I absolutely love the name. Arcángeles in Spanish sounds so cool. The Archangels is just awesome. Yeah, and then it's even better to see all these NFL players come together. I mean, not just NFL players, honestly, but a lot of American ownership come in. And for the Osos, I think that's so cool. I wish they would have gotten a little fancier with the uniforms or a little, but I do love traditional looks. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm a fan to see this team on. I was looking at the roster earlier because I was curious about the overall makeup of this team and the roster is concerned. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out some of the rosters or not, but I noticed the first name that noticed to me was my boy Josh Mack. He played up here in Maine. He played the LFA a couple of years ago. He was over in the ELF at some point in time. More recently with the Green Bay Blizzard of the IFL and the Indoor Football League here in America. But I noticed that they didn't have an American imported quarterback.
Yeah.
They have 5 quarterbacks listed. One of them has like a number 55, which is a very weird number to have for a quarterback. But they have 5 quarterbacks listed, or at least that's what the roster size says. We saw this approach last year with 2 teams, right? They had the national quarterbacks. We love the idea of the national quarterback. Is it the right approach, though, heading into a season where there's now 8 teams instead of 9, and you're playing against some of the same powerhouse teams that you've been playing against, like the Cadillos? Osos should be pretty damn good, even though they're rebranded from the Fundadores.
Yeah.
Is it the right approach, in your opinion, to go with a Mexican national quarterback, not knocking any of the talent in Mexico. We just
Yeah.
know that it's a fairly newer sport in comparison to America. Is it the right approach?
Yeah, that's kind of always been the kind of like the nail that sticks out the most, right? Which is football in general. Obviously, in America, we see it at the higher levels. The O line has is it's kind of the offensive line is kind of the one that's lacking behind.
Mm.
There's a lot of freak athletes that play D line. There's a lot of freak athletes that play DB receiver. In Mexico, that's the biggest thing is the quarterback position. There is a lot of athletes that we tend to see they stick at the quarterback position. It's very rare to get that field general type athlete, mainly because well we're going to see it in the newer generations, but you just don't grow up with football in Mexico. Soccer
Mm.
and obviously football for them, soccer for us is their biggest thing. I think in the later coming years, hopefully the LFA continues on. It's looking like it will. And to answer your question, man, from a personal standpoint, I just you have to that spot is going to be has to be solidified immediately. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, if you bring yourself in and import, that's your quarterback. You better pray that he's bilingual, a little bit of bilingualism. He's got something in him. Um, try to get him into whatever town you are, whether it's Monterrey, whether it's Piedras Negras, whatever team you have. You want him to get acclimated, meet your team, because as we saw last year, there was a huge turnover in play callers and OCs and stuff like that. And a big part of that will always be the language barrier. But a bigger part of it is the talent. And yeah, I'm going to have to go with the latter. I think an import at the quarterback position is just the best thing to do. I mean, look at the last MVPs we've seen, the last championships. I
Mm.
just think it's the recipe.
Yeah, and again, obviously, I'm not sure how up to date these rosters are. I'm just going based off of what I read. The season's right around the corner. For those of you that don't know, it starts on Saturday, I believe. I think there's a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night game
Yep.
as well, or it might be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, it is Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay. All those games are free on YouTube for us here in America as well. So if you get a chance to check it out, absolutely should check it out if you're new to the LFA. Um, I want to preface that though, or I want to follow that up though. I'm a full supporter of Mexican national quarterbacks. Like I'm
Yeah.
a full supporter of it. I am a full believer in helping develop them and giving them a shot and chance because that's ultimately what the LFA is going to be about, right? Like
Correct.
it's about bringing Mexicans, making Mexican stars, and giving the Mexicans somebody to root for that necessarily isn't feeling like the sport's being overtaken.
Yeah.
However, it's still a fairly younger league, and like you said, for the most part, a lot of the LFA, a lot of the Mexican athletes or football American, football Americano are behind
Yeah.
in overall technique, overall opportunities, et cetera, right? So I think it's better still at this point to bring in an American import and let the Mexican national quarterbacks kind of learn under them. I-
Yeah.
At least I feel like that's a better approach.
Yeah, I personally do, and here's where my biggest issue with the college system in Mexico kind of gets me. Um, my local team that I play for, that we own, we've had some guys that graduate college and they come over and play with us. They're graduating college at 24, 25, 26. We're used to in America, you develop a quarterback at 21, 22, and you get those extra years. And at the end of the day, the younger they are, the more the prone they will to learn, new habits. So that's kind of the rough thing, right? I mean, you want this 25, 26-year-old to sit behind an American quarterback. At the end of the day, how much more does his legs have? Does his arm have? That's where it comes into play. I do agree. I think if they can find themselves one a kind of a local star in the making, there's like a nice 4 or 5 big universities in Mexico that are football through and through. Like you go over there and you're like, wow, this is beautiful. I agree 1,000% with what you're saying. Find that guy, understand that he's got to be coachable, and bring in an import. And who knows, right? Obviously, if he beats him out in camp, that's a huge plus. But it's just different with certain things and certain aspects because um, the way offenses are ran in Mexico is just a little bit different. You're going to help your quarterback as much as possible, and it's just really depending on how the offense goes. But I agree. I mean, sit them behind, let them learn, and then get them out there.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I believe in general, because like we said, football in America is huge. It's the biggest sport here in this country, and I just feel like if you're going to play American style football in other areas, bringing in an American to learn from is the correct choice. Now, with
Yeah,
that being said, it doesn't mean there isn't foreign talent across the board elsewhere and whatnot. We've seen it in numerous spots where there's been some pretty good ones. I mean, last year, who was it? It was the Raptors.
yeah,
They had a Mexican national, and the Raptors made it all the way to the championship game, right? They were
yeah.
in the championship game last year, right? So, I mean, it goes to show that the talent gap isn't as large at this level as it may be in other areas. Now, the Cadillos, changing of the guard at quarterback. They're bringing in
Huge move.
somebody new. Yeah, Harrison Robideau. Is that Robideau?
Yeah,
I'm
Roberto.
assuming is Robideau. How you say his last name? Um, this is a team that hasn't lost a game in what, 2 years now? 3 years?
2 years. Yeah, 2 years.
2 years. 2 years undefeated. The Cadillos and back-to-back champions. Some pretty big shoes for Robideau to fill, coming in to this scenario, this situation. Looking at this roster, there seems to be some pretty significant changeover across the board. Uh, some of the names I'm not recognizing as much as I did last year. Uh, what are the expectations for the Cadillos? Obviously, I know the internal expectations is another undefeated season, but as a fan, what should we look at as the the realistic expectations for this team?
Yeah, man, the rosters definitely changed from what we see. Right, sometimes it takes a little while for them to update their roster, and we understand that. You know, Roboto coming in, he's a young kid. I know. I think he played D2 ball. There's a
Yep.
big difference from Jeremy Johnson to you're going to a different quarterback, right? I think you have to get immediate success pretty fast. Fans are a little bit different. They're a little bit spoiled, right? They're going through that Patriots franchise feel right now, and
Yeah.
and then that's the reality, right? You're like, man, like we're just gonna win every year, I guess. And then the trade happens, and then it's like, whoa! But not only the trade, the little stuff that goes unnoticed, like you just said, the roster doesn't look as familiar as it did last year. So realistically, this is I know last year we kept calling for the upset. We wanted it to happen, but I think realistically, if Roboto doesn't come out firing, we'll see who he is, right? We'll see exactly who he is. I know they have their first game obviously in the doubleheader on the third, so I mean it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to see, but realistically, I think this is gonna be a tough year now that there's one less team. Depending on how the playoff format is, we'll see, man. I really think they're not going to be that powerhouse that we're expecting, or that the fans are expecting. Us football analysts that love it, live, breathe football. I think we're going to be kind of expecting something a little bit less than an undefeated championship season.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things here too is looking at it from a standpoint of the Cadillos. It wasn't necessarily that we were calling for the upset every year. It's just that we saw some cracks in the armor last year,
Yeah,
right? They
yeah,
had some turnover from the year before. They still had a good core. I think what Jeremy Johnson was still the quarterback down there. He was the MVP last year, right? Like if I remember correctly.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
so you're talking about a situation where they had a little bit of stability at the quote unquote more important positions. However, looking at this roster now, there's not a lot of names that look like they were holdovers from the year before. So I'm actually very curious about this offensive line because I felt like the Cadillos offensive line, which we talked about at this level, the offensive line is like hard to really like focus on to find really quality athletes at.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I felt like they were really the difference maker, and I'm very curious to see if how that's going to play out for them moving forward this year. I think that is going to be the bread and butter for the Cadillos this year, moving throughout the season. It's going to be an interesting watch for
yeah.
them for sure.
Definitely, definitely. I think so too, especially with Robideau being a different. He's not exactly as massive as Jeremy Johnson was in his frame. I think he's going to be a
Mhm.
shiftier guy. I think he's going to come out with his hair on fire, and it'll be fun. I just think having a caliber player like a two-time MVP is going to be a little bit different,
Yeah,
especially for those nationals. That's something that people forget. Like there's Mexican nationals on that team that are expecting Jeremy Johnson to walk in, some towering figure, and when they hear that trade happens, we'll see how well everything can hold together.
yeah, for sure. Moving on to the Dinos real quick. Trayvon Boykin comes in. I don't think he was with the Dinos last year, if I remember correctly.
No, sir. No,
Um,
he was with the not the Gallos Negros. He was with the I keep forgetting that name, but
was it the
go ahead.
Jefes?
The No, he wasn't with the Jefes. It was a black and red team. Um, they were one of the unfortunate
Oh,
teams
the
that got cut.
Greyhounds, Galgos.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Galgos.
Yeah.
But I did recognize another name on this list, which is really cool at the quarterback position, and that was Eric De La Rosa.
Yeah.
He started some games last year for the Dinos. Had the Dinos in position to make the playoffs. I believe they did make the playoffs. Actually, I think they were like a 6 seed. Um, Boykin didn't look the best at times last year with Galgos.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Dinos bringing him in, but keeping De La Rosa, I feel like that's got to be a strategic move on the Dinos' part, knowing what they have with Eric, because I feel like Eric is probably one of the better national quarterbacks in this league, and I'm very interested to see how long of a leash Boykin actually has for this team moving, this year.
Yeah. One big thing about the Rosa is he's actually played quarterback for quite a while in his career. He's one of those
Yeah,
guys that if he was if he was born a little bit later, he would have gotten a little bit more of the social media hype and things. But because right now football is really starting to blow up in Mexico, and I mean it's crazy. It's awesome to see. But yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's another thing. Is Boykin going to immediately get to start? We saw last year in the early parts turnovers galore, and it was just the offense completely changed. We don't know if he took over play calling, like in the huddle, certain things here and there. It was a very simplistic offense that eventually had to get going. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see if his heart's in it. I think if Jerron Boykin's heart is in this team and in this situation, I think he'll succeed. It looked like he just in the beginning of the season, granted, because then they started winning games and they got in that playoff hunt. But if he can get into it and he loves it, and he really really enjoys it. I think he's going to be something special. It's just you said it right. I mean, he's got that. He's going to have that leash, and we'll see because this is the LFA. We're in Mexico. When you have a national quarterback nipping at your heels, the fans are going to chirp, and at the end of the day, it's a business. It's a business, and they're going to want to sell
mm,
tickets. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm excited to see that part.
yeah. And speaking about excitement, as a Galos Negros fan, I am extremely excited to see a couple of these names returning for me.
Yeah,
JJ Brania, Ravon Johnson, Johnson's coming back. However, the biggest name that excites me the most on this list is Billy Reagans, the running back, is has come down to us here in Mexico at the Galos Negros, and I got to tell you, if you guys haven't seen this guy run, the fact that it took him this long to get back outdoors or really just kind of get back into the forefront of things is insane to me. He is a hard nosed runner with top end speed, so I'm excited to see what we can do. The biggest question mark, though, is Xavier Bullock, new quarterback to the league. I don't believe he's been in the LFA before, so I believe he's a rookie this year. First timer. I don't know a ton about him, so realistically, out of these first 4 teams that we've discussed, he's one of the biggest wild cards outside of obviously the national Mexican teams. What are the expectations for this team? Because we've talked about how they've improved slowly throughout the course of the year. Last year, my boy Aaron Ellis, who's not with them this year, he's over in Japan doing his thing, but there was some things last year that deals with the coaching staff and players, and there were some players that weren't too happy with the way it goes. Do you think they can iron this out and finally turn the corner and become a playoff team with a chance to contend?
I think they did exactly what a team that needs to find an identity did, or needs to do. They went to go get a good runner, a very, very stylistic runner that they're going to have to, mold behind and build behind. They got a rookie quarterback, so that their best friend is going to be a run game at the end of the day. If there's a language barrier, I guarantee you the easiest thing to teach is run, right? Like you're going to run right in here, right? You're going to run right in here, whether it's numbers, 23, 22, 23, 22. You want to keep it as simplistic as possible. I think, and I know you've rolled a die for them so far. So, man, I think with a strong running game, with a rookie quarterback, I think, again, if those new quarterbacks come in and they're just feeling it, right? Like they're like, hey man, I'm playing pro ball, I'm enjoying this and this. If they don't come in tensed up, I think they're gonna do good. I'm excited to see what he brings. But I mean, to kind of cut that question, the other part is we want to see more indoor guys come back outdoors. There's a lot of guys that we consistently see and we talk about like, man, I just wish he got back outdoors, man. I just wish he pushed himself back out there. That's what I'm excited about. When a guy that's been playing indoor ball gets back outdoors and he's like, man, the field is huge. I get to and he's a runner. I'm excited. I think it's going to help. The biggest question is how that O-line going to do. Did they improve? I know last year they had 2 offensive linemen that were under 6 feet tall. One of them was playing. One of them was playing right tackle for a little bit.
Yeah,
And it's just different, man. It's different. That's kind of something that I hope that they've beefed up on, and we'll see right after that first weekend. We're gonna get a good picture, but realistically, they did the right thing. Go get a run game. Let's ride behind it. We'll see if it pays off after week 1.
I think the other thing that was good too is they brought back Branya and Raven Johnson too. Like they brought back 2 of their staples from last year that should hopefully help give Bullock a opportunity and chance to kind of ease into the system and let them kind of dictate what happens, right? You do a lot of short to intermediate routes and let them, break the top off and then see what Bullock can do deep after a while. I'm very curious to see what this offense does. But I'm excited for it with the way that the league went over and the delay in the start. I feel like that everybody's kind of unsure what this season's going to bring. So I think there's a lot of level playing field here this year in comparison to previous years, right? So the Mexicas, this is interesting looking at their roster because, again, disclaimer to you watching it, in there right now, we're not sure if these rosters are up to date. We're not 100% sure. They got 1 quarterback on roster, and it's a national quarterback.
Yep.
It actually looks like most of the entire team is national. Looking at the names here, I don't recognize any names. I don't see any American imports coming in. Bold strategy. I kind of dig it, though. Well,
yeah,
I'm sure that they have something. I'm sure that it's not up to date because I feel like there must be another quarterback somewhere. But just because I don't think that any team is going to roll in with 1 quarterback to start the season. But what do we expect with the Mexicas? Is the talent gap with the A imports that are there going to be too much for them, or do you think that this could be a team that might surprise people?
I really, really hope that there's imports coming in, right? You want that. One, the rules there. Take advantage of it. Use it. Don't be stubborn. Don't try to, try to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I think it's going to be needed. I know one of their key players, my dark horse for an MVP last year, Villalobos, Guillermo Villalobos. I know he's done with ball. He's retiring.
Mm.
He was one of their explosive guys, right? The receiver out on the edge and
Yep.
stud, just a stud kind of dude. They're going to have to replace explosiveness. They're going to have to replace certain things. And at the end of the day, the fastest way to do that is bringing in some imports. You bring in some players, and it's just vital. You take advantage of the rule. You're not cheating. You're not doing anything, and you're not impressing anybody because if you go out there and you get steamrolled or things happen, it's going to be kind of a chaos. And if there isn't imports there now, you're already lagging behind, right? There's a
Mm.
lot of guys. It's just the reality of overseas ball, even though it's over the river ball because it's right there. Um,
That's fair.
it's it's just, I mean, Aaron Ellis is another one. He's in Japan now. He was just playing in the LFA, but he's gone. That was a high caliber quarterback, but he found another opportunity. If you don't think that you need imports, you're going to be sadly mistaken, and that's something you don't want to see, especially when they retired their superstar. It's rare that the superstar is the receiver, but I swear, any post that they put that man, if you go to their comments, it's crazy. It's
It's
crazy.
nuts.
Like
Yeah.
they loved him. Yeah, they loved him over there. So
Well, I
let's.
mean, I really truly hope that the Mexicas, I mean, even if they don't bring in a ton of imports, I really hope that they have a competitive enough team because I know that there's one thing about the LFA and there's one thing about these leagues is nobody wants to tune in to a game that's being blown out week after week after week, right? Like
Oh
we don't
yeah.
want to see that. Like
Oh yeah.
that's not what we're about. We're all about the competition. We all want to see it. We want to see parity across the league. I hope the Mexicas find some imports and are able to bring them in if they don't have them already. I'm going to keep an eye on the roster updates as we get closer to the week to see what happens. The next
Yeah.
team on this list is the team that you cheered for before the rebranding. I'm assuming you're still going to cheer for them, and this is the Monterrey Osos.
Yes, sir.
Am I saying that right? Osos? How would you
Yes.
say that?
Also.
Osos?
Also.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You're perfect.
Oso?
Perfect.
Osos? Okay.
Yep.
Uh, this team, though, uh, returning Torrin Justice, I think that's a huge get. I'm glad that they're returning him. Torrin Justice, if you guys haven't seen Torrin Justice play, it really makes you wonder why he's not playing in America. I'm not gonna lie to you. The guy
Yeah.
is and maybe it's because of the quote unquote competition disparity or whatever, but this guy shines on tape every time I see him play. Tavarius Batiste, he wasn't there last year, I don't believe. He's coming in. However, the name that sticks out to me the most here is Kelvin McKnight is coming in to play receiver for the Osos this year with Sheldon Epler, who's an MVP candidate every year, returning to this squad. Those four pieces alone, and I know that I didn't even mention the running backs, the defense that's probably, hopefully the defense has improved compared to last year because the defense was definitely the downfall for the Fundadores last year. This team on paper looks like it may be the front runner to start things off here in 2025. What's your take on this as well?
Yeah. I think it's a perfect storm. I think one, if you're an import player and you find out that the team that is pitching you to come out has ownership like Ryan Khalil, Blake Griffin, George
Man, that's
Kittle,
crazy.
you're gonna go. You're gonna go. You should go. You should go. Huge shout out to Tommy Auger as well, the tight end. Yeah, I love my tight
Yeah.
ends. That's another weapon, and that's what's crazy. You mentioned 4 or 5 guys, and boom, there's a tight end as well. I think
Yeah, I
they're
didn't
100%.
I didn't even mention Tommy Auger, but yeah, Tommy Auger is another one. I mean, the guy's been a
Yeah,
difference maker at the tight end position for the last few years too. So
yeah. I think the combination of the Caudillos, changing of the guards, kind of splitting up a little, guys kind of going around, and I think a huge impact is the late start. The late start in the season got a lot of imports. Well, they want to go play ball, so they're going to take off. And
yep.
I think the ownership group is such a powerhouse of stars. You wouldn't want to leave that opportunity. So, excuse me. So they kept that group, kept the quarterback. I mean, we talked about Sheldon Epler last year every week. The guy's a baller. Like he's a stud.
Mm.
And they just needed that defense, right? Like every time we would talk about that, that's going to be the big key. I mean, at the end of the day, offense wins games, defense wins championships. Um, I'm an offensive guy, so I don't believe in that. But whatever, we're not going to talk about that. But
I'm an offensive guy myself. I
yeah,
played center most of my life, but I believe defense wins championships,
yeah,
though.
absolutely. And it's just we see it every year in the biggest games that we watch. That we just saw it in the Super Bowl. We just saw that type of work happen. I really hope they bolstered up that defense. I really hope that's what they took care of. But man, them being the team that I cheered for, seeing the rebrand, the city of Monterrey. We're gonna be over there in August. My team's gonna be over there August 1st to the 3rd. I gotta check the schedule, man. I might be able to catch something going on around. But anyways,
Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah, and not only that, Mike, don't forget, I told you what we're gonna do at this next championship game. We're gonna find out where it's at,
Yeah,
and you and I are gonna be there live. All right?
hell yeah.
Trust me, we're gonna take care of this. But anyways, I'm huge. I'm excited, like super, super excited to see them. Man, you don't want to see it bomb, right? You don't want to see it like.
Mm.
But I think they have the right ownership, and I think things are gonna go well. We're gonna see if um, the very possessive Mexican nationals of their things. We're very possessive people. When we let in people from around the world, I would love to see how well they're received, and obviously we're gonna see how well the off the field stuff and like the product, the show. So yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to see what changes we're gonna see. Even the little things that the stuff that you and I love, the pageantry, the production stuff. I'm
Yeah.
pumped, man. I'm pumped to see what the Osos are gonna bring differently.
We got two more rosters to go through, but real quick, man, like I think one of the biggest things is this ownership group, right?
Yeah,
We talked about it a lot in the off season. You're bringing in and injecting a lot of NFL type of um, experience. You're bringing in players that were high caliber that are high caliber. It's a lot of experience and a lot of learning, teachings and whatnot. From an ownership stand or from a league perspective, or even on the outside of the league perspective, you have to be excited to have this caliber of players to come in for an ownership group and invest in the league that, let's face it, I mean, what is it? It's been around for what now? This is the fifth year, sixth year?
I think it's a little deeper than that.
Is it deeper than that?
I think so.
I know there was two
Just
leagues at one
because,
point in time, but
yeah, I was gonna say just because they absorbed the fam league, but yeah, I would
yeah,
say about 6 years. But yeah, I mean, it's an infant, infancy.
yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful, and I'm hopeful that it brings more eyes to this down in the LFA, and we see a lot more players, and we see a lot more former players start kind of following suit a little bit, and focusing a lot because I cover a lot of football. You cover a lot of football. We watch a lot of football in other areas, and there's talent across the world, and I think
Yeah,
that it's great to have eyes on them for sure, on all that levels, because just because it's not the NFL doesn't mean it's not good football.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
That's
agreed.
like saying you can't find good games in college football unless you watch the SEC. Like, and the SEC has teams like Vanderbilt that get their asses kicked for the most part almost every year. So you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so
and then what's crazy? Look what happens when Vanderbilt is good, like or
yeah,
relevant. Like
n-
everybody was tuning in. We're pumped.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
And they still
agree.
only won 6 games.
Yeah, and we're like, holy shit, man! Like, and a big thing for me, and to kind of piggyback off that point is we love indoor ball. We love arena football, indoor football. A lot of times, teams just up and vanish, right? And we know
Hmm.
why, right? You hear about the rumors, and then the rumors turn out to be true. When an ownership as big as this group comes in out of the country to help out over here in the LFA, because
Hmm.
everyone always wonders like, how come rich people don't buy arena teams or do this, and how come a former player? Because look at what is going on. I think you're right, man. I mean, we could possibly see more teams or more players, even individual players, get together and bring in high quality. Because at the end of the day, there's so much talent, like you said. they need to develop somewhere. They need to. And there's so many spots, and we wish that we can get in everybody's inbox and be like, bro, just trust me. Just go play for a little bit. Just go develop. Go have fun. You
Yep.
know, it's not NFL or bust. You can be a pro athlete in other places. And yeah, I love the fact that, and I love the fact that they're pushing that ownership out there. You know,
Yeah.
I would too, obviously. I mean, you want to sell tickets.
Absolutely, absolutely. And their social media game, I feel like, as far as the league is concerned, this year has been significantly stronger than it was last
Amazing.
year. So check them out on Twitter as well, or X, or whatever the hell you want to call it, but everywhere basically,
Yeah, yeah.
as well, because they have been really strong with upkeeping and making sure they're making posts, articles on players coming out, the ownership group. They do a lot of good over there for sure. I wish they would share one of our stuff, but maybe someday we'll get there.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm gonna
someday
start.
we'll
I'm gonna
get to
start
it.
making phone calls. I'm gonna
So I
start
make
making
some
phone
phone
calls.
calls, and maybe we'll get there.
I mean, I'm right there. I'm just gonna drive
Also,
back down.
Daniel, I just want to let you know, man. I don't know if you know this or not, but we just hit our highest total mark ever for live
Yeah.
viewership at 50. So
Hey, man, I love it. I love it.
season 2, man. Season 2. Big things coming on the horizon here for the
Yes,
LFA
sir.
Spring
Yes, sir.
Showcase as well. All right, 2 more rosters to get through real quick, and then we'll wrap this up because it's only a preview show, and we do that for about 40 minutes or so, and we're going to
Yeah,
push it to
yeah.
about 45. We're going to push it to about 45 tonight, but the Raptors, they made the championship game last year. We talked about them having a national quarterback. Johan Guerrero is back. He is back. My guess is there's no reason to change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like,
Correct.
I'm sure that he'll be the quarterback to start with. However, there is a new name at the quarterback position behind him, and I actually believe he's a rookie because I think he was drafted in the class, if I remember
Yes,
correctly. I
that's
think
correct.
I
Yeah.
reckon Israel Jimenez Mendoza. Um, so they have 2 national quarterbacks, which I think is fantastic. They had 2 national quarterbacks last year. I think at some point in time they had 3. I don't really recognize a ton of the American or the receivers. They all look like they're fairly national. There's a couple names that could be border, like Mally Harris Strayhome. I don't know much about him. And Jacoby Reddick. I am not actually against this strategy because the Raptors last year won with run game and defense,
Yeah.
right?
Good.
That was their strategy. Finding an American wide receiver to come in, and they have some American DBs. They have Kylan Woods, who's returning, I believe, and Antonio Reed, who I think they signed in the offseason as well, coming in. But finding some rookie wide receivers from the American import isn't necessarily a bad strategy, in my opinion, because, again, like we talked about with Xavier Bullock, where they had returning receivers. It's the opposite here, where they have a returning quarterback that can kind of guide these receivers and maybe take the league by surprise.
Yeah.
Should we expect another Raptor type season that we saw last year as well? Because I think they are returning a good chunk of their roster from a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think Guerrero. I mean, we kind of said this week by week last year, which was he was improving. We kind of saw him like, all right, man, you're thrown in the fire, man. You're gonna have to learn. And they kept consistently. I think him getting to the championship, right? Him being a championship quarterback. I think that's going to be an immense amount of confidence for anybody, right? Whatever level you're at, getting your team as the leader to a championship is just going to be great. I think the best thing you can do for a kid like him is one, they went to go draft a quarterback. That's going to light a fire in your ass for one. And honestly, Mike, I hope you do see this kid play. I'm not saying that I want Guerrero to get benched. That kid's got a rifle. That young kid that they just drafted.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, he's only like a year or 2 years younger than Guerrero, which is hilarious. But
Mexican
again,
college for you, right?
Mexican college for you, man. And I think he's got a cannon, but he's a very athletic kid. My thing is, like you said, run game, strong defense. That's a huge recipe. And if you go get studs at the receiver position, hey, if you throw the ball 20 times, 15 times a game, but they're going to go win those plays, you have a quarterback's best friend, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. I think that they did the right thing. I think seeing them trust him is a huge, huge factor in its own, right? I mean, I can't imagine how good the locker room is going to be comfortable with that. I mean, they got there, and at the end of the day, did a lot of people give them, a chance to against the Calillo team? I mean, it was scary, but they're fighters, man. They're they're a scrappy bunch, and I hope that continues. And it's gonna be a huge test for Guerrero to kind of continue that process. I hope he's only gotten better over the offseason. The extended offseason probably has done him a huge service. And we'll see, in week 1.
Yeah, and again, week 1 I think is going to be pretty telling for the most part with some of these teams because, like I said, there's some returning people. There's some new faces. There's also some old faces in new places. For instance, Anthony Perkins and Reyes. Reyes had a terrible season last year. Offensively, They couldn't get going. They had a bunch of injuries, some issues that happened at the quarterback position. Defense was not very good. My boy Damian Williams was a bright spot, but Damian Williams isn't returning. He's not with them this year. However, looking at this roster, and again, from a standpoint that we're not sure if this roster is 100% the final and official roster, Isaiah Major, Eldridge Thompson, Aaron Ortiz, a lot of names that look like they might be American imports from places. I mean, I know Ortiz could be, a Mexican name, but either way, man, it looks like that the Reyes has decided that the defense was where they were going to spend a good chunk of their time, other than bringing in Anthony Perkins. It looks like Kobe Rogers, a defensive back, they brought in as well from an American import. They got a couple American wide receivers. Devin Hextall is back for Reyes. I think that's a huge get and a huge win for them. And they brought in Artie Henry. This team needs a bounce back season. They need it, and the extra. And I think anybody that has the extra time for the delay on the season, Reyes is probably the most thankful for it.
Yeah.
Do you think this team can turn around and become a playoff team, depending on what the playoff format is going to look like this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest part was an overhaul of that roster. You have to get certain people out that, I mean, unfortunately, if you don't buy in and you don't believe in it, you're going to have to get them out. I think an overhaul after a losing season, and that wasn't just a losing season, it was scary, right? And a huge part of that is that roster can't carry over consistently to the next season. And from a non-analyst standpoint, from us knowing what happens in leagues like this, they need to be successful. If we want to see if we want to see Jalisco have a team next year, they need to be successful. And then we're not saying, hey, you need to go get a championship, but you need to put butts in the seats. You need to bring in money, revenue. We want to see the LFA grow. That's just the bottom line to it. We've been teetering on 8, 10, 8, 9, 10, 8. It's kind of consistent. That's after absorbing a league. This is what we don't want. We don't want to see the Reyes or any team like that get, drop down because they just can't pull it out. Yep. I think the overhaul is going to be huge. I think it's going to be huge. And I really do see them being the Gallos Negros of last year. That kind of season, where we're not really seeing it, and then they start popping off and winning some games.
I think one of the biggest things was obviously going out and getting a guy like Anthony Perkins to be able to get there and kind of solidify that quarterback position a little bit. Yeah. He isn't a guy who's won a championship, but he is a guy who's kind of hovered around having some pretty good seasons. He's athletic. And you bring back Devin Hextall to kind of shore up that wide receiving room a little bit, and you focus a lot of attention on defense. I think that it's always a good jump to be able to do that as well, by any means. Now, that's a little bit of the roster preview for the upcoming season. Obviously, games aren't played on paper. The games are played on the field. The gridiron is always a great equalizer when it comes to certain things. However, since the season hasn't started yet, and we don't have anything to go off other than paper, me and Daniel are going to do our best to try to predict the 4 games this weekend. And hopefully not fail miserably at everything that we do here. I am going to do my best to keep track of this year. I did not do a very good job last year. Daniel obviously has a very good memory and a much better memory than I do. The scores were something that I never remembered. I always remember who I picked, but towards the end of the year, it kind of blurred together a little bit. So I'm going to try to do better this year with keeping things organized. Daniel, let's start off May 2nd. It's actually a Friday game, so it is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because I'm pretty sure the first is Thursday. So it's the Archangels, or how do you say it in Spanish?
Arcángeles.
Arcángeles.
Yeah, arc and then
I
ángeles.
can't roll my R, so I can't do that one. So
Hey,
I'm just
no
rolling with.
worries.
I'm so white. I'm just going with Archangels. In the Galos Negros of the my team, that's the opening game, man. I'm really excited that we get to be the opening game Friday night. So on paper, because that's all we got to go on right now, who are you picking and what's the score?
Because you're my boy. And at the end of the day, the Arcángeles are new. They have a lot of new revolving pieces over there. I'm gonna go the Gallos Negros. I think it's gonna be a fun first game to kick off the season. I'm gonna go 34-20. The Gallos Negros with the win.
Okay, high scoring game right off the get go. That is one thing that we do have to say is usually offenses are behind defenses in early in the season. The LFA was not like that last year. It took the defense a little bit to catch up to the
Yeah,
offense.
that's for sure.
That is for sure. I'm taking the Gallos Negros here too. I think the Archangels have a until I know more about this team because it seems to be pretty national heavy. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it does kind of put them a little bit behind the eight ball as far
Yeah,
as being up to par with some of the imports that are coming in for the Gallos Negros. I kind of agree with you. I think this might be a little bit more of the high scoring game, but I think it's going to be 31-16 Gallos Negros.
ooh,
I think this defense is going to be something that the Gallos Negros is going to need to shore up for sure to be able to compete this year.
yeah,
At the top. Your team, the Osos,
yes,
start on. We got the O going on now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm ready, man. Look, by the way, I ordered some merch. I'm ready. I'm ready for the season, Mike. I'm
Oh, you
ready.
got
I'm
some
excited.
merch too. Look at
Oh
you.
man! As soon as I saw
Okay. All right.
Kiddo and them
All
starting
right.
to wear it, I was like,
Yeah.
yep,
Absolutely. All right.
yes,
So the
sir.
Osos take on the Dinos Saturday night. You know, this game last year probably would have been a landslide in our predictions. Does it change this year at all with some of the things? But again, we're on paper. The Osos look like the best team on paper, in my opinion. So, what's your prediction on this one?
100-0. No,
100-0. Oh, you going Albany Fire on Corpus Christi? Albany
yeah,
Firebirds on Corpus Christi,
yeah.
huh?
Yikes! Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I think the offense is gonna come out firing. I'm very curious to see how the Osos defensively are gonna, piece their stuff together. We knew that was their biggest thing. I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be one of those games where the Dinos are gonna, they don't care who's the ownership. They don't care. I think that's perfect bulletin board material. I'm going to go 28-27. I think the Osos have to score at the end on the last second
Oh,
drive. So, yeah,
okay.
28-27.
You got a close one in this one. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Shelton Epler. I mean, he's such a difference maker. You
Stud.
you can't you can't you can't coach or scheme for experience. Like if there's one thing that Tom Brady proved in the NFL is once you get really good at what you do in a league that you're in for a long period of time, it is very hard to scheme against in order to get wins.
Yeah.
I think the Dinos are going to be improved. I think it's a very tough outing for the first game though with the Osos. Sheldon Epler is going to have an MVP year. That's my early prediction. He's going to be in the MVP talk. I think Torrin Justice is going to lead the league in receiving. That's also one of my early predictions. I think the Osos is going to walk away with this game early. Unfortunately for the Dinos, I don't think this one will be close to start off with, just because it's week one.
Yeah.
If they play each other later on in the year, we'll see a little bit of a different story, maybe. I think the Osos wins this game 31-12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A couple scored games so far through the first two, but the Archangels is only because I'm hesitant about the roster overall. in comparison to what we have going on with the
Yeah,
Gallos Negros.
of course.
Another game that probably would have been a blowout at the beginning of the year, or at some point in time last year, the Cadillos traveled to Jalisco to take on the Reyes, and we just talked about Reyes' overhaul of this roster, this game, and Cadillos having some wild card. Is this finally the end of the streak of the 2-year window, or does the Cadillos find a way to win this game?
I think the fact that they gave the Cadillos an away game off the bat is, one, super disrespectful, but two, I think the revolving pieces behind the scenes know it's just going to be a different team. I think the Reyes have to kick the season off right. I think they have the pieces for it. But I think the tradition of the Cadillos is just gonna
But
be
wait,
too
there's
much,
more.
man. I think it's just gonna be too much. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game. I think they're gonna score at the end, the Cadillos, to kind of pull away. I think it's gonna be 18-6 with the Cadillos winning.
Okay, all right. You had me there at the beginning, and
Yeah.
then you got me there at the end, Daniel.
Had to.
I'm taking the upset.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm taking Reyes here. I think Anthony Perkins is a wonderful addition to help solidify this quarterback spot with the Kings or the Reyes. And I honestly believe here from this standpoint that this defense is going to be revamped. I think going down a team and the later start is going to help Reyes hopefully be able to gel a little bit more. I still think it's going to be a very close game because Robideau, I think, is still going to be fine. How is he going to play in this league is the big question mark, because each league is different. So how is it going to be for him? I think that he's going to make some mistakes maybe late in this game, and Reyes is going to capitalize on it. I do not expect it to be a high-scoring game, and I do not expect it to be a blowout. I think this game's going to be 20-18 Reyes.
Nice.
I'm taking the upset, and I'm ending Cadillos' 2-year run in week 1. How about that? Isn't that crazy? That's nuts.
I'll take a shot live on stream next time if that happens.
I just wish there was some betting here, so maybe I could put the LFA on that and throw down a little 4-leg parlay. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say you've been having some success, man. I got to start looking into the insiders, man.
Bruh, it's all women's soccer.
It's so fun, man. That's so cool.
NWSL, man, that makes me a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
The Mexicas in the Raptors. This game is very intriguing to me. This Mexicas roster does not appeal the same way as it did last year. However, I am hopeful that is not the official roster that we saw. This Raptors team made the championship game last year. Defense, really, really fundamental offense. Johan Guerrero looked fantastic in running that offense. It was not flashy, but it was effective. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think the story of the game will be Raptors all game. I think them bringing back Nationals to help you is a huge confidence builder for them. I think they play, from a lot of the stuff that I've heard, a lot of them are always on edge towards the end because you don't know if you're coming back unless you're that guy, right? Like, unless you're the guy, it's always kind of up in the air. I think the Raptors, building around that quarterback, building around Guerrero at the end of the day is going to be massive for them. I just don't see how they'll struggle. Again, we haven't really seen the full roster of every team, or any team for that matter, until we kind of see everything update. But I just think you said it. I mean, it was a simplistic offense, and at the end of the day, if you keep that nice and simple, I think they'll do good. I think they'll come out and kind of put on their confidence out there for everyone to see. I think it's going to be 30-13. I think the Raptors are going to kind of let it rip. I think we're going to see the backup quarterback even come out.
Oh, okay. All right. We talked about him a little bit in their little roster preview, for sure. This game is intriguing to me because the Mexicas, usually you have a pretty good idea and foundation from year to year as to what to expect. This roster is completely, I don't want to say completely different, but it is pretty different across the board compared to where it is if this is the official roster. The Raptors roster, on the other hand, even though it's not a ton of American offensive imports, I'm curious what these wide receivers are going to do. And I'm also curious about the growth of Johan Guerrero with this offense, right? We talked about how it was fairly simple. We kept it simple. It was kind of a lot of more of a conservative offense. But I'm wondering if these rookie wide receivers in another year with Guerrero starting, if maybe we start seeing them try to open up a little bit. And if they're able to hit on that and be effective, because if they can hit on the explosive plays and be effective, this Raptors defense still may end up being the best defense in this league this year.
Yeah.
And we could see another surprise run late for this team.
Yeah.
Right now at this point in time. I think until I see what the Mexicas look like, I have to give the edge to the Raptors in this game. I think this is going to be a 27-10 victory. Well, I'll say 27-9 because the kicking sometimes is a little suspect. So, I'll say 27-9 to the Raptors here. I certainly hope that Dinos game and the Mexicas game and even the Gallos Negros game, I'm hoping all 4 games are actually closer than what I predicted for 3 of them. But right now, I just have to go based off what I know from the history and the rosters that I've seen for that fact. So, kind of where I'm at as well. Daniel, did you come up with a name for your segment yet? I know we were supposed to have. We didn't talk about it this offseason like I was hoping that we were going to, but
I will be prepared next week. How about that?
Okay. You'll be prepared. Well, this was a kind of like a preview week, whatever. Well, next week, I'm gonna put you back on the spot though, Daniel.
Yeah. No, hey man, I'll be ready.
You have a segment and a little,
Yeah.
A little spiel that you got to come up with there.
Yeah, I got. Don't worry. My little girl was being a little rowdy one tonight, so
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Behind the scenes, there's toys everywhere. You don't.
I believe it. I believe it.
But yeah, I mean, and to kind of build on the Raptors' point, they have championship experience, man. I think it's that franchise has championship experience, so I think it's dope. By the way, love the mascots that they've chosen, man. Freaking love them.
Love them. And I'll be honest with you, a national quarterback with championship experience. I think that is something that is something that I think is invaluable right now. This early, especially this early in the season, for sure. So. Yes, very, very excited for that for sure. All right. Well, if that's the case, Daniel, this actually went longer than I expected. I didn't think we'd actually get to an hour. I thought this would be a quick little preview, and we are here. Championship, way too early championship prediction.
Oh, man, I'm going to go Osos versus, you know what? I'm going to be very, very typical, but I'm going to go Osos versus Raptors. I got the Osos going undefeated this season.
Okay. They can do it. They got the roster to do it.
I truly, truly believe so. I think it's going to be 34-29 in the championship game. I'm gonna mark that down. Osos.
Yeah, mark that down. Our early, way too early championship prediction.
That's 34, and I got the Raptors 29.
I'm also going with the Osos. I don't think they're going to go undefeated though. I think this defense is still a question mark. But I got the Osos winning against the Gallos Negros. I'm putting them in there, and maybe it's a fandom thing. I don't know, but I'm putting them in there, and I'm going to go with you in a similar fashion. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say 37-33 Osos.
Ooh.
37-33 Osos over the Gallos Negros. The Cadillos obviously has got some things happening. The other teams, I just don't know. The Raptors could easily be in that championship game. I completely agree with you by all means. So I think right now that if I had to look at it, my top 4 teams in no particular order, even though I know the Osos would probably be my number 1, but would be the Osos, the Gallos Negros, the Raptors, and the Cadillos, just because you can't take the Cadillos out of that top 4 yet.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, well, that's going to do it for us from here tonight on the Spring Showcase. He's Daniel Villapando. I'm Michael Washington. Shout out to Shady Sports Network. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the little dingy so every Tuesday night you know that we are coming live to you at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. what is that? 6:30 p.m. your time.
That would be 7:30.
7:30. You're an hour behind me. That's right. 7:30 p.m. on Daniel's time as well. And if you're on the West Coast, I think that's like 5:30 in the afternoon at some point in time. However, either way, LFA season starts this week, week 1. This is season 2, episode 1, out of the Spring Showcase.